Myntra is planning to end the COVID year with a bang, with its biggest ever sale in history. The end of reason sale is back on Myntra, and this time round, discounts 50 to 80% across 3,000 brands. So much so that Myntra is expecting a 65% uptick in traffic on the 4-day sale period. It's expecting a 1.5 time uptick in demand. It's tied up with 20,000 kirana stores across the country for delivery. They will be handling more than 75% of the delivery. And just to give you an idea of the kind of demand that Myntra is expecting, it has prepped up to process 20,000 orders a minute. So that's how big the Myntra sale can be. And joining me to talk about this and more is the Myntra CEO, Amar Nagaram. Amar, it's always a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for joining us here on ET Now. It's always called the end of reason sale. And I've always asked you that, have you left all the end of reason when it comes to business? I'll get to that in a bit. But this time round, is it also so big, so massive? Because it's a COVID year, you've got to convince people to part with their hard-earned money. It's a year which has been filled also with pain, salary cuts, job losses.
Well, Nayantara, thanks for having me on the show. What we've done in the last 7 months is bringing the right kind of selection, the relevant selection, in line with the consumer need state. So to your question, there is no convincing required anymore. Fashion has become that one category where people are actually reaching out to feel good, to make that, to bring back the goodness, the much awaited goodness back into our lives. Festive season, we've seen a lot of traction in premium segment, in ethnic wear segment. And now going into ERS, which happens to be at the mid of winter season, there's a lot of traction going to be for winter wear. So there are more reasons. In fact, you don't have to have a reason, but there are more reasons this time to go on to ERS and to shop big.
Okay, so, retail therapy, revenge shopping, we've all been hearing about it. But Amar, what I want to also understand from you is that, did you have to have the biggest ever sale also because it's a COVID year? You're telling me the fashion category has been disrupted. There's nothing like your loungewear is also now considered to be fashion. I take all of that. But the kind of discounts that we're seeing, is it primarily also because it's the COVID year?
No, actually, what happened during the last 7 months, of course, there is an element of COVID in it. But what we've witnessed as an e-commerce platform is there's a lot of interest and demand coming in from tier 2, tier 3, especially for the segments which we never saw as a demand coming from these regions, which is fashion forward, new season merchandising, a lot of international brands. And the way the tier 2, tier 3 have received our selection is giving us that confidence. In fact, it's the momentum that we are carrying forward into this event. See, it's not actually our aspiration to make it big. It's actually a lot of environmental variables and the industry factors that are going to make this India's biggest fashion festival. The kind of demand, the kind of selection being put together, and the kind of tech that is actually powering this, all of this will make this India's biggest fashion festival.
And in the process, I understand you're planning to acquire 1 million new customers. 1 million new customers over 4 days seems really ambitious, Amar. It's not like, you have a low base effect at play. It's not like you're a newbie. It does seem ambitious.
So Nayantara, I agree with you. If it was a non-COVID year, what has happened during Diwali festive season, we've acquired 1 million customers in 5 days. So we already have a precedence to it. And again, like I said, the 7 months have given us a lot of confidence, a new way to look at the fashion market evolving in this country, especially from the geographies which were not online ready, at least until the COVID happened. Tier 2, tier 3 South Indian markets, regional selection is getting a lot of traction from South Indian markets. So there are a lot of other factors which we didn't account for before COVID are coming into the play. And hence, a lot of these numbers might actually look like moonshots, but definitely not this year. And this is a point I made earlier also in one of our previous conversations, that COVID has actually given that momentum to the e-commerce space, and it is up to the e-commerce players like Myntra to make it work. What we have done in last 7 months is not just bringing demand to the supply. We are also able to define or redefine the supply in a way that is more relevant to our consumers. In terms of our tech investments, if you look at omni-channel investment, we have close to 1,600 stores on our platform, the largest by any platform, serving consumers directly from the stores. If you happen to actually buy any of these brands, and if you happen to have a store near you, it's guaranteed that it's going to come from a store near you either on the same day or the next day. So the way the whole retail space, the landscape, the contours of the landscape is being changed. The lines between offline and online are being blurred, and it is actually giving way to a new kind of retail this country hasn't seen before. So that's why we are more excited about the way ahead of us. And this event, the URS event in December, is going to be an inflection point for the new market we have ahead of us.
Amar, you're expecting a peak of 20,000 orders a minute. That's why you're prepped up to process, that's such a large amount. Can you tell me, in the last sale, how many orders you processed per minute, just to understand, and how many customers you acquired in the last sale, because that'll be a good comparison to have as well.
Sure. So like I said, in the last event, we acquired over 1 million customers. So in terms of the new customers we'll be acquiring, I would say we're being a bit conservative, but I'm hopeful we'll be acquiring more than that. In terms of number of orders, actually, I'll talk about two other metrics. One is the number of concurrent users before I talk about the number of orders. At the time when we opened up the event last time, we had close to 750,000 concurrent users. I mean, these were the users who came to the platform at the very same time. That's the power of technology the teams have built, the teams at Myntra have built. And we have actually handled close to 14,000 orders a minute. This was not more than 2 months ago.
Okay, 14,000 orders a minute you were processing just more than 2 months ago. Now, you have told me repeatedly, Amar, the last 7 months has been about lessons, about innovating, pivoting, and coming out with a solution which you think is going to be lapped up by the consumers. In the last 7 months, when you have seen the digitization being adopted at the kind of speed it has been, how many customers have you indeed acquired since the lockdown? What kind of a growth have you seen?
See, the tier 2, tier 3 markets today on a BAU, and the thing with the tier 2, tier 3 markets have always been that this is the traffic that came to us during the major events. But during BAU, it has always been our metro tier 1 population, which has been our strong loyal base. What has happened in last 7 months is the tier 2, tier 3 is coming to us on a BAU. That's the biggest thing. And in fact, 50% of our BAU orders are coming from tier 2, tier 3. So there's a lot of customer acquisition happening in the new markets for us. South Indian market, which is one more market which has been an aspiration for us, at least ever before the pandemic happened, now is again turning out to be one of the strong markets. The kind of saree selection, the expansion we did in this category is a proxy to the kind of demand we are getting from the platform. Today, people are buying 40,000 rupee saree on the platform. That's the kind of trust the new markets have on us as a platform, and that's actually a very good place to be in. And to my other point, Nayantara, it has been a lot of learnings, a lot of innovations. There's one more thing I would like to add. There's a lot of gratitude we have right now for our consumers and for our partners. 7 months, the way we have actually evolved ourselves as an organization and as a business, it would have not been possible without the support of our partners and without the trust of our consumers. In fact, one of the commitments we made earlier this year before the pandemic was towards sustainability. And today we are proud to announce that 1 in 2 orders from this event will be delivered from solar powered fulfillment centers. And 1 in 3 orders will be coming in paper bags. This is our commitment, and we have made that commitment happen in a pandemic year when the rest of the business are actually looking to cut down their expenses. We're actually going forward with our commitment. In terms of 20,000 kirana store partners that you were talking about earlier, we are excited about that fact as well. I mean, 20,000 partners serving 76% of our orders in over 27,000 pin codes. These 3 numbers put together talks about the volume of commitment we are making towards this small, medium businesses across the country. And we are very proud that we are sharing the goodness of this with our Kirana partners and during these tough times. So there's a lot of gratitude in us towards our partners, towards our consumers. And we would like to end this year on a very, very big note.
And are you, you talked about a sari going for 40,000 rupees, the 50% growth coming in from towns that you were, perhaps pre-COVID struggling or finding it difficult to get into. But is that also being reflected in, let's say, clocking more sales, like volumes, revenues than you were pre-COVID?
Yes, we have actually seen quite a bit of momentum in the bounce back. In fact, we are back to pre-COVID levels, even during the festive season itself. In fact, like I said, this event is going to be an inflection point in the journey of Myntra. And we are going to look at the next year in a completely different way with the kind of momentum we are carrying forward from this year. So in terms of business, we have bounced back. We bounced back not as a Myntra, but as a brand. I mean, we did it for our brand partners as well. A lot of brand partners were able to bounce back to their pre-COVID levels because of the kind of growth we have seen on the platform.
So can I ask you that when it turns out to be an inflection point for Myntra, and a corporate question here at that, it's no secret that your parent company, Flipkart, is going in for an IPO. What we've also seen is PhonePe being partially spun off. Can I ask you where Myntra is headed? Because you're such a strong brand in your own right.
See, from the consumer perspective and from the way we actually serve the consumers, we are an autonomous organization. But what happens behind the screens is where we actually need the support of Flipkart. The fact that we were able to serve tier 2, tier 3 demand that popped up on our radars just after the lockdown, we could have not done it without the support of Flipkart supply chain, which already existed. So it is in our interest to stay connected to our parent company, which is Flipkart, and take advantages of the investments they've made into infrastructure over the last decade.
Okay, fair point. Now, Amar, as we come towards the end of the interview, what I also want to understand from you is, and you've talked about evolving trends, fashion not being what it was pre-COVID, but can you tell me that in this COVID year, what has done well in the fashion space? Anything that took you by surprise as well, saying, hey, that's a big opportunity, never saw that happening?
I think the one big thing that really happened in the fashion industry and in the fashion retail space is this is the first year where we got the selection what consumers really wanted than any other previous years. The previous years were actually a combination of what consumers wanted and what brands wanted to sell. This year it has been about consumer and only about the consumer. We put the consumer at the center of literally everything. From the selection, from the campaigns to the pricing and the way we actually put together events as well. It's always been about the customer. The end story is the industry has benefited significantly. Now we have a very emotional connect with our consumers. Myntra today is enjoying the highest NPS in the industry, especially in a year when the operations were hit by a lot of constraints. I mean, everybody knows the kind of constraints we had on the ground for our supply chain personnel, our brave warriors on the road who faced so many challenges to deliver products. And yet customers gave us the highest rating in terms of their experience with us because we today share a very emotional connect with our consumers. So that to me has been the biggest learning coming out of this pandemic. And we are hoping to continue that emotional relationship. We continue to listen to our customers, we react to or we respond to our consumers' need states in a much more efficient and faster way and make this a more of a theme going forward for the rest of the industry as well.
And on that note, Amar, I'm going to thank you for joining us here on ET Now, for being so candid. It's always a pleasure talking to you. Here's wishing you and the entire team at Myntra a very happy new year.
Thank you and wish you the same.